Nancy Chanteau, and this is the second video in the Quiet Mind video series. This video is about categorizing your thoughts. So now that we've identified our felt sense, um, the ways in which an extra thought feels in our bodies, how we can notice the tension, the stress, the sense of heaviness or tightness that fills our body when we're experiencing a thought that has this extra load of stress on it. And we're stopping it with our sound and our gesture, hopefully something lighthearted that helps us change the mood. Then what will happen is that thoughts will start to loop. They'll start to repeat. And these repeating thoughts I call looping thoughts. And what we're looking for with our looping thoughts is first just to write them down. Write down the exact words of the looping thought. So if the thought is, I should go to the store, and you notice that stressful feeling in your body that your felt sense is engaged, you stop the thought, it comes back. Maybe you need to go to the store, but you could write that thought down. And then if another thought comes around like, I should call Leah, you could, and if that thought keeps coming back and back, you can notice that. And eventually you'll have a set of thoughts written down. You want to write down the exact words. Some of them might be innocuous, like I should go to the store, I should call Leah. Some of them might be more obvious, like that was stupid, why did you do that? You're going to be in trouble, something along those lines. But we want to get the exact words down as much as possible. Once you've got the list of thoughts, you can start to notice there will be the first category we're looking for is the category of a theme. That the thoughts fit into a particular category that's based on perhaps a relationship or money troubles or trying to make a big decision about a job or where to live or a relationship. There might be a category, one of the big categories for me was the category of past analysis, where I was looking back on something that had happened and analyzing what had gone wrong or what I could have done better. And then the other category that was really big for me was future planning, thinking forward to something that was going to happen and trying to anticipate anything that could go wrong or anything that bad that could happen and heading it off ahead of time. And so you're going to look through all of your thoughts, look through the categories, and the categories are going to give us a hint about the kinds of interventions that we're going to do with these thoughts. So a decision-making thought, a thought about a particular decision, like should I go to college here, should I go to college there, should I go at all? Those kinds of decisions might require us to make a plan. And there's this whole process that I'll take you through for ways to make plans. And one of the things I like to encourage people with making a plan is that we write things down. So you're going to be trying to figure out exactly what it is that you're going to do. And then you will, any places that you have research to do or information to gather or something to do in order to be able to do something, it will all be written down and then you can stop thinking about it. Another category that we might have to deal with are our beliefs, our underlying beliefs that affect our experiences, our behavior, and our thoughts and habits. And so being able to identify that was stupid or why did you do that as a thought that has an underlying belief that is in some way life-draining, we would figure out that life-draining belief and then work through it in order to replace it with a life-affirming belief. There's a whole process for doing that, saying what's true, what's not true, and what's also true about that belief. And then from that more nuanced view where we're moving out of dualism, where we make right move, wrong move, good or bad, right or wrong, and we're moving toward non-dualism where a situation is right for me, right for you, wrong for me, wrong for you, depending on the context. So something might be right, and there might be things right about it, and there might be things wrong about it, and we have to figure out how to discern amongst that and still make decisions and move forward with compassion. So that would be upgrading, working with our cosmology to shift to have a more life-affirming stories and life-affirming beliefs. And once we've done that, we're also going to have to identify habits that were based on the life-draining beliefs and replace them with life-affirming habits. So that's a whole nother process. But the first step is just to identify. I'm having thoughts that have these life-draining beliefs in them, and I'm going to start working on cosmology in order to address that. And the third kind of intervention that we'll be doing is desensitizing body up based situations that maybe there isn't even a thought associated with it, but as we stop our thoughts, we notice that there's bodily anxiety or bodily stress, and then maybe that causes particular thoughts. So there might be thoughts that are more about the stress that we're experiencing than the thought itself. So with those, we would desensitize the stress in our bodies, and we would do that using a practice that has intention, that we're locating ourselves in our wise adult consciousness and choosing to do the practice. It has intensity. It's strong enough and intense enough to actually register in the limbic brain rather than just being something that we're thinking about. And it's repetitious. It's something that our bodies can embody by practice. It takes 300 repetitions to get something into muscle memory and 3,000 to change from one thing to another. So we're going to do this first round of categorization, identifying the themes that will help us make decisions about the interventions. And then there's this second round of categorization that in Skills for Change, we talk about internalized oppression and shame as being something that we can break down into categories. The categories, the name for this comes from radical therapy, is we call, and originally from transactional analysis, we call our internalized oppressive thinking that we've taken on from the culture pig parent or pig thoughts. And the reason that we call it that is because as we're developing, we will try and memorize right move, wrong move. How do we be good? How do we be safe? And that memorization process usually is underdeveloped in terms of discernment. It's not very complex. We're looking to put equal signs because equal signs are fast. So if I do something good, I'm going to, smiling when somebody asks me a question is good. Frowning when somebody asks me a question is bad. If I smile, I'm good. If I frown, I'm bad. We start getting associations like this as we're growing up, especially things that are reinforced by our primary caregivers. So we're looking to identify the 7 categories of pig messages. Our deserve to die. Deserve to die is about belonging. It's about not being good enough, not being lovable, not mattering, not being important. And if we have the example I give for myself, most of my future planning and past analysis thoughts actually broke down to when I took them out to their logical conclusion, I ended up with, well, I'm doing this because I suck. And it wasn't I suck, it was you suck. Like I had that kind of underlying thought in my head. If I don't prepare for a meeting and make sure everybody is happy with my presentation, then people will be unhappy with me and I suck. Except it wouldn't be I suck, I would think, and you suck. So there was this self-talking to self inside of my mental process, which at some point I will talk about how the difference between I and you kind of languaging in the exact words that we write down in our thoughts as we start to work with them. So deserve to die is this big overarching category. It affects a lot of our thinking. And I've talked more about that in other videos. There's a great video about doing our human homework and asking for 100% of what we want that breaks the deserve to die process down a little bit more. So if you're interested in that, you can look for that video. The next one, weak, sick, ill, the category is about the body. It's about being strong, being healthy, being powerful physically. And weak, sick, ill tends to affect people who have chronic disease or disability, or a severe illness, or even a mild illness like a cold or the flu. We can get a weak, sick, ill pig attack. And these weak, sick, ill often is one of the hardest pig attacks to deal with because when we're not feeling well, when we are feeling well, oftentimes we use all of our other strengths to overpower not feeling good about ourselves. When we're not feeling well, all of that goes away. So we not only feel weak, we also will feel unlovable, stupid, crazy, lazy, ugly, and bad. So all of the other pig messages will come and attack us when we are feeling weak or feeling ill. The third message, stupid, is all about school skills. So we're in school, we're taught that or we're valued based on our ability to memorize, our ability to reproduce facts, um, our ability to mimic. Um, it takes a long time in school for us to be valued for creativity or for problem solving or for um, any of the kind of out of the you know unstructured skills. And so our intelligence often gets diminished to being, can you learn something 3 weeks ago and then repeat it on a test, which is a pretty narrow view of intelligence. It doesn't take into account musical intelligence or emotional intelligence or street skills. There's all kinds of intelligence that gets left out. So school smarts being, if we don't have school smarts, you're stupid. That's a pretty heavy pig to encounter. Um, the next one is crazy, and it's about two categories. One is mental health, and the other is decision making. So all of the ways in which people get diagnosed in our culture around mental health disorders, the DSM, the Diagnostics and Statistical Manual, has categorized all of these diagnoses that are about ill or mental health, mental disease or mental ill health. People can get really once they get categorized that way, it can be a real burden. One of the things the radical therapy movement was all about in the 60s, when it was the Berkeley Free Clinic's mental health arm, was that people really looked at the power dynamics between therapists and patients and thought, some of this is not about a diagnosis. Behavior, people having trouble with their lives, is about lack of power. And if the radical therapists really believed that if people solved their power problems, a lot of their behavior that was causing diagnoses would go away. So I think, in Skills for Change, we're much more about both, that it's the body and power that are affecting us, and we can solve power problems, and we might still have something going on in our bodies that needs to be addressed. So looking at mental health from a more holistic point of view. Crazy can also get applied to people's decision making and their thinking styles. So if people are rational, logical, scientific, those thinking styles have been valued in our culture, and irrational, illogical, and unscientific is bad. But, for example, intuitive thinking might be irrational and illogical and even unscientific, and yet very powerful. So people or cultures who think different ways, make decisions differently, can have gotten pigged with this idea that they're crazy. So crazy can be both about mental well-being and also about decision making and how we think. And then lazy is all about work and work productivity. So the idea that if you work hard, you will get ahead. The American dream, that whole Puritan work ethic, that's really embedded in this idea of if you haven't worked hard enough, that's your problem, and that if you're having problems, it's because you're not working hard enough. So it's all about having a job, working a job, how much and how hard you work, the way you work is encompassed in the lazy pig. And then finally, the bad pig is a really big umbrella, similar to Deserve to Die. It covers everything from being mean or being selfish, irresponsible, sexual, having an addiction, being criminal. There's a huge number of things that people can feel bad about or think that they're bad because they're not doing something. So those are the 7 pig messages: deserve to die, weak, sick, ill, stupid, crazy, lazy, ugly, and bad. And as we're categorizing our thoughts, what we'll notice is that, a thought will fit into more than one category. Even something like, that was stupid, might not just be about stupid pig. It might also have crazy pig, and it might also have deserve to die pig. So you might notice that the pig messages compound, and that the more pig messages that are on a thought, the more intense it is. Or it can actually, single pig thoughts can also be very intense. So we're using the labeling and the categorizing, both in thematics and also in labeling the pig, in order to help us start to get some perspective on what's going on. Where are our thoughts coming from? Why are we thinking these thoughts? And what can we do about them? And the categorization process is going to help us get into our wise adult consciousness, get into our discernment and our objective observing mind, and then from there, we're going to initiate interventions to help us address these thoughts. So I hope this video is useful to you, and if you're in the quiet mind process, keep stopping your thoughts. That's going to be the primary practice for this entire course, and if that's all you learn to do and you don't do this categorization, that's fine. You can come back and work with your thoughts later. Really focus. Feel your felt sense, feel your body, and then stop any thoughts that cause you stress. Okay, we'll be back for our next video. Have a great day.